President Biden has a plan to change Social Security. That is going to affect everybody that's currently receiving Social Security and all future retirees. So you want to stay tuned for this one. This is huge. Secondly, if you ever received a stimulus check, your Social Security benefits may be at risk. So I'm going to share all the details with you. So these are two of the top things that I want to share with you in this Social Security update. So stay tuned. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that Social Security benefit payments worth up to $4,555 are going to be arriving in a few days. So I'm going to walk you through the November 2023 payment schedule. And then I'm going to share with you President Biden's four-part plan to drastically remake Social Security that is going to affect every beneficiary that is currently receiving benefits and all future retirees who are planning to retire soon. And then third, if you got a stimulus check, some people are getting letters from the Social Security Administration that you owe money back. So I am going to share details about Social Security overpayments. If you are new to this channel, I want to urge you to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, because at Social Security Edge, all we do is bring you the latest news and updates about anything in and out of Congress that may affect your Social Security benefits. So hit that subscribe button. Let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that Social Security payments are arriving soon, including disability benefits, SSI, and SSDI. So what does that look like? Well, here's how the Social Security payment schedule works for retirees and SSDI beneficiaries. First, it's based on your birthday and a specific Wednesday. So if your birthday is between the 1st and the 10th of the month of November, you're going to get your Social Security or SSDI benefits on the second Wednesday of the month. If your birthday is between the 11th and the 20th of November, then your Social Security and SSDI benefits are going to arrive on the third Wednesday of the month. And finally, if your birthday falls between the 21st of November and the 31st, then your SSDI and Social Security retirement benefits are going to arrive on the fourth Wednesday of the month. So what does that mean specifically? Well, I'll get to that in a second. Let's not forget those who are on SSI, Supplemental Security Income Benefits. They are always paid on the first of the month, which means that you should have received your benefits on November the 1st. If you didn't receive your SSI benefits, it may be because your benefits have been canceled or you owe Social Security overpayments, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So stay with me to the end of this video when I explain what is happening with overpayments for those who did not receive their benefits this month. And then on the 3rd of November, the following groups of people are going to be receiving their Social Security benefits. Those who live outside of the United States, if you receive both SSI and Social Security benefits together, and if your state pays for your Medicare premiums, or if you filed for Social Security before 1997, all those categories of people are going to get their benefits on the 3rd. So let's get into some actual dates on when benefits are going to be paid. So I skipped early here. So for Social Security benefits, November the 8th is going to be the payment date for those of you whose birthday is between the 1st and the 10th. Then November 15th for those of you whose birthdays are between the 11th and the 20th. And then November the 22nd for those of you whose birthday falls on the 21st to the 31st. So this is for both Social Security retirement benefits and supplement SSDI, which is Social Security disability insurance. As I mentioned, for those on SSI benefits, your payments have been made already November 1st on Wednesday. And if you're on, Social Security and SSI together, or you live outside the United States, your state pays for your Medicare premium, or you file for Social Security before 1997, then you're going to get your benefits on November the 3rd. So that is what I have about payment schedule. Now, if you do not receive your payments for the month, if your Social Security or disability benefit does not come in as scheduled, you have to wait for 3 additional business days. That's the recommendation from the Social Security Administration because there could be a technical issue. There could be a transfer issue with your bank. So wait 3 additional business days before you call the Social Security Administration. Now, if you wait 3 days and your benefit is still not in your account, then it's time to take action. The first step is to call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-772-1213 and figure out what is going on with your benefits. Now, you can also log in online if you have a Social Security account to be able to see what exactly is happening. It may be that you owe overpayment, that you would have received more benefits than you were eligible for, and now the Social Security Administration is holding your benefits until you have finished paying the overpayment, or your benefit may have been canceled entirely because you may have violated a Social Security rule. So that is how you deal with a situation where your benefits do not come in. Now, let's get to one of the main things I wanted to talk about today. President Biden's plan to remake Social Security and disability. Well, what is this plan about? Well, this is an article from the Motley Fool that talks about this huge plan to make Social Security, and is going to cost $273 billion to implement. So let's get to the details of this plan. Well, as we all know, Social Security is a vital source of income for retirees. And 9 out of 10 retirees rely on Social Security. It has lifted millions out of poverty because for a lot of seniors, Social Security is their main source of income. And as the baby boomer generation retires and more people are on Social Security benefits that are paying into it, it's creating a huge shortfall, which is $22 trillion shortfall that needs to be addressed. So President Biden has a plan, a 4-part plan to remake Social Security to make it work better for retirees that are currently on benefits and for future retirees. So, what does that plan look like? Well, now let's get right into it. So the 4 components of this plan is that it's going to increase the payroll taxation on higher income earners. It's going to change the inflation index by which Social Security cost of living adjustments are made. It's going to increase the special minimum benefit that anybody can receive once they start receiving Social Security. And it's going to raise the primary insurance amount for aged beneficiaries, which means that the base Social Security amount that the Social Security Administration uses to calculate, there's a base amount that everybody gets. And then on top of that, based on how many credits you have, how many years you've been working, what your income is, then things get stacked on top of that. Well, they're going to raise that primary insurance amount so that everybody gets higher benefits, especially those who are in their late 70s, 80s, where the cost of medical care continues to rise. That whole base insurance amount is going to rise with it. So now I'm going to walk you through the specific detail of this 4-part plan, because it's very important. You have to know how this is going to affect you if you're currently on benefits, and how it's going to affect you if you're planning to retire, and what this all means. So the first part of the plan is to increase payroll taxation. Well, what does that mean? Well, under the current Social Security system, Social Security is funded by payroll taxes. It's 12.4% that everybody pays. And it is capped at $160,000 for 2023. So if you make up to $160,200, you're going to pay Social Security taxes. And then anything above that, you do not pay Social Security taxes on. Well, what the president is proposing is that there used to be a rule that people who make $400,000 and above will pay Social Security taxes on those also. Well, that is not the case anymore. And the president wants to bring that back. So earned income above $400,000, he wants to help you basically put a tax on those people and use that to help the shortfall that is currently being experienced in the Social Security Trust Fund. So that is going to create a donut hole. You probably heard of this in the news. What does a donut hole mean? Well, if you're taxing $160,200 in payroll tax, and let's say this is the $160,000, so anybody making up to $160,000 is going to pay Social Security tax, and then anybody above $400,000 is going to also pay Social Security tax. So there is something in the middle between $160,000 and $400,000. That is the donut. So this gap in here is a donut hole. And the idea is that as the base wage, there is the wage index, that the base wage increases every year. As the $160,000 is adjusted for inflation every year, they are hoping that that gap between the 160 and 400 will close, so that eventually everybody making any money is going to pay Social Security taxes, including those that make more than 400,000. So the current idea is anybody making up to 160,000 will pay Social Security taxes. Anybody making above 400 will pay above the 400 also. And then over time, this small gap will close because of inflation. And then everybody is in the same boat where no matter how much money you make, you will pay Social Security taxes. And the idea is that this is going to help bring more money into the Social Security pool so that it can fund retiree benefits. So that's step one, or part one of the plan. The second part of the plan is to change the inflationary tether, which essentially is a fancy word for saying Social Security benefits cost of living adjustments are based on the consumer price index, another word for cost of living adjustment, of urban wage earners and clerical workers. Well, the problem with that is that a lot of urban wage workers are not on Social Security. So using their spending habits to decide cost of living for retirees is kind of a mismatch. So what the president is proposing is that he wants to use something called the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, which will track specific spending habits of households with individuals aged 62 or over, which then will result in a much more realistic cost of living adjustment for seniors, because the things that people over 62 and above spend their money on is different from the things that urban wage earners and clerical workers spend their money on. For example, for seniors, a lot of their money is impacted by healthcare, drug costs, healthcare costs, and you want to make sure that you are using a consumer price index and tracking goods and services that directly impact seniors, so that you are reflecting a cost of living adjustment that is meaningful to them. So that is the second part of the plan that the president is proposing. The third part of the plan is to increase the special minimum benefit. This is the part that I am very excited about, because I think it's going to be a huge, huge, huge deal. So stay tuned. First, the idea is that currently there is a minimum Social Security benefit that everybody who has worked enough hours and paid into the system, there's a minimum for you to get. So that minimum is very low. So the president is proposing that they change that minimum benefit to 125% of the federal poverty level. Every year, the government releases a chart that shows what the government considers as the poverty level in the country. So he's trying to put seniors and retirees a little bit above the federal poverty level, because currently, if you're just getting the minimum Social Security benefit, you are below the poverty level, 100%. If you're getting if you just made enough money in your work history to just qualify for the minimum Social Security benefit, you are below the poverty level for an individual. So you're definitely living in poverty. If that's all the income you get, you are living in poverty. So the president is proposing to adjust this minimum. What does that mean? Let me explain. So currently, the minimum Social Security benefit, it's called the special minimum benefit, is $1,033.50 a month. And that is going to jump by $33 to $1,066.50 in 2024. So what does that translate to? Well, if that's all you get and that's all your source of income, then you're getting $12,400 in Social Security benefits. That is below the annual poverty level. Even if with the increase for next year, it's still going to be below the poverty level. What is the poverty level? Well, in 2023, this is the government guidelines for the federal poverty level for the lower 48 states except Hawaii and Alaska. As you can see, 100% of the poverty level is $14,580 for an individual. So let's go back. If you're on Social Security and you're getting the special minimum benefit, you're getting $12,402. And if you look at the 100% of the federal poverty level, you are definitely below that. So what the president is proposing is that they would tie the special minimum benefit to 125% of the poverty level. So for 2023, that will be $18,225. Well, how does that compare to what you're currently getting if you're getting the special minimum for Social Security? Well, let's look at that. Well, so currently, let's just use 2024. If you're getting, actually, I'm mixing my numbers here, but you get the point. So next year, you'll be making $12,798. If the president's plan is implemented, you're going to get 125% of the federal poverty level, which if you divide by 12, is $1,518. So that is definitely more than you're getting in the special minimum that we currently have. So if you take it out of 2023, what you're supposed to get at minimum, that is an extra 485% increase, which is a 47% increase in the benefit. So if the president's special minimum benefit increase was implemented right now, everybody that only gets the special minimum benefit will get a 47% increase. That's a huge deal. That's why I'm excited about this particular part of the plan, because it's going to lift a lot of people, a lot of retirees who only get the minimum. Is going to lift them out of poverty. So that is a big deal and something that hopefully gets implemented very soon. And then the fourth part of the plan is to raise the primary insurance amount. So Social Security has a base amount, that beneficiaries get. The president wants to increase that for all age beneficiaries. So the increase will begin at age 78. Remember, people are living longer. Retirement is longer. Gone are the days when somebody retires 62 and then a few years later they'll pass away. People are retiring and they're staying in retirement for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So it means that the retirement plan, Social Security has to adjust to that reality. So what the president is proposing is to increase the PIA for aged beneficiaries. So the increase will begin at 78 and continue through 82, which will lead to a cumulative 5% boost in benefits over this period. And it is intended to cope with rising expenses that occur later in life, such as healthcare costs and prescription drugs. So that is the four-part plan that the president is proposing. It's going to cost money, but the shift in pegging the cost of living adjustment to something that is realistic for retirees is it's a very good idea, and it actually makes sense. I don't know why they haven't done it already. And reinstating the payroll tax for higher wage earners is going to bring in more money, but it's going to cost something. As I said, it's going to cost about $273 billion to implement. So that is something that is running its way. The president is pushing for it, and we're going to stay close to this and keep you updated on anything that comes as a result of this plan. So the third thing I want to talk about is stimulus. If you ever received a stimulus check, pay attention to this, especially those of you on Social Security benefits. This is a big deal. So what is going on here? Well, remember back in the day during the pandemic, the government issued a bunch of stimulus checks to help people get through what was happening. And people on Social Security and disability benefits were assured that getting a stimulus check was not going to affect your benefits, that the government was not going to, cause you to violate any resource limits for Social Security or disability benefits. Well, that turned out not to be true, because the Social Security Administration is sending letters to people that they owe overpayments because they received stimulus checks. So let me explain this so that you make sure that you're not affected. So how does this work? Well, here's the simple thing. If we just take a trip back to how this happened, it will all make sense. In March 2027, the first stimulus check came out for $1,200 for an individual, $2,400 for a married couple. Well, a few months after that, in December of 2020, another stimulus check went out for $600 an individual and $1,200 per married couple. So if you add the first one to the second one, already you can see how the $1,200 plus the $600 are getting people close to, income thresholds, especially for SSI benefits, where you cannot have resources more than $2,000 to get the maximum benefit. And then there was a third stimulus in March 11, 2021 for $1,400 for an individual and $2,800 per married couple. If you received all three stimulus, $1,400 plus $600, that's $2,000, plus $1,200, that's $3,200 total. If you're an individual, you've suddenly passed the SSI resource limit, which is $2,000 for an individual. If you're a couple, you definitely blown past the $3,000. That's the resource limit. So what's been happening is that people were going over this resources limit because the IRS is sending a file to the Social Security Administration of everybody that got stimulus. And the Social Security Administration is matching that file to people who are on Social Security and trying to figure out who has received more money than they were allowed to receive. And if they did, how much of their benefits need to be returned. So the idea is that you got more money than you're eligible for. So now you receive more Social Security benefits than you were qualified for or eligible for. So now the Social Security Administration wants their money back. Well, this is called overpayment. And people were assured that this was not going to happen. Well, beneficiaries have been getting letters, and Congress is upset about it because 1 million people got letters in 2022, and then another 1 million people got letters in 2023 and counting. So what does this mean? Well, as I mentioned, it's because people were tripping asset limits, and so they were getting these overpayment letters. But these letters are going to people who are vulnerable, disabled, blind, elderly individuals with limited resources, and they are being asked to pay back, in some cases, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $60,000. Somebody got a letter that they owe $120,000 in overpayments because they received stimulus checks and may have been working and didn't report all their income, maybe doing, say, ticket for work or trial for work programs that the Social Security Administration have to help people on disability return to work. And now it's causing people to lose their benefits. So this is causing a lot of stress because people are having their benefits, their Social Security disability benefits taken, and they don't have a direct way to get it back immediately because there's all this bureaucracy that you have to go through to even get to speak to somebody and understand what's going on and then figure out how you can get your benefit turned back on. At the same time, some people are losing Medicaid benefits because they have too much resources and they have more assets than they were allowed to. And that's why Congress is trying to figure out what is going on. Well, there is a bipartisan effort to figure this out. And the first thing they want to do is increase the SSI asset limit. If you're not familiar with that, as I mentioned before, if you're on SSI, you're only allowed $2,000 in assets, or your benefits will be reduced. And so that asset limit at $2,000 has been like that for a very long time. And it's keeping a lot of SSI beneficiaries in poverty, because $2,000 is not a lot of money to have. And if the maximum SSI benefit is $914 and you can only have $2,000 in your account, then they're keeping you in poverty. And so advocacy groups are trying to work through this with Congress. So what can you do if you received an overpayment letter? Well, the first thing is to do is appeal. And you have to file your appeal within 60 days of receiving the letter. But if you want the SSI, if you want Social Security to not take your benefits or take part of your benefits, you have to file your appeal within 30 days. Because by law, they cannot do any collection efforts until they've made a decision on your appeal. So if you want the Social Security Administration to hold off on any collection until they've decided on your appeal, you have to make sure they receive your appeal within 30 days of receiving the overpayment letter. Otherwise, after 30 days, if you don't pay the money back, they're going to start taking a portion of your Social Security or all of it until your overpayment is made. So if you get an overpayment letter, do not ignore it. Do not ignore it, because it is critical that you respond within 30 days so that the Social Security Administration knows what your intended action is to address this overpayment for money that you owe. Now, as I said, Congress is trying to do something about this situation, but we don't know what's going to come out of that. Congress talks about a lot of things, and sometimes they don't happen. So do not rely on action that Congress is going to take to save you out of this situation. You need to take action to make sure that you address this overpayment issue. So those are the things I wanted to discuss with you today. Those are the updates I have about Social Security and disability. If you are new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so you'll be the first to know when we release new videos. So until we see you in our next video, thank you for watching.